Welcome to the Rockin Rich Lynch on the Radio Show. I'm your host, Rockin Rich Lynch, inviting you to join me as we discover great new music by bands and artists from around the world. With interviews, music news and reviews, great prizes, and a whole lot more. Visit us online today at soundpress.net for great music promotion and publicity. Hi, this is Rockin Rich Lynch, and you're listening to the very best of Rockin Rich Lynch on the radio. We recently moved our operations from the New York, New Jersey market to Nashville, Tennessee, and we are now looking for a production and broadcast partner in the region to take the radio show to new heights. If you're a band, musician, solo act, or represent a musical project in any genre, please visit soundpress.net and our new site, musiccitynashville.net, to learn how we can help get your message to the world. Now, please enjoy this great interview from our archives. Today, everybody, I have the distinct honor, privilege, and pleasure of bringing you the singer, guitar player, and one of the founding members of one of the greatest bands of all time, Squeeze, Mr. Glenn Tilbrook. Glenn, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Well, I am a big fan, as you'll find out, and we are catching up with Glenn tonight. Just as the band kicks off their 2008 tour here in the United States, the band will be performing in Washington, D.C. tonight. And Glenn, how do you figure these shows? Are they a continuation of what you did last year, or will they evolve and differ in some way?
It's a little bit of both. We're basically picking up some stuff from where we left off last year, but we've learned some different songs for the set as well. We've been doing a few dates in the UK at festivals over what we've had of the summer so far. So basically last year when we toured with Squeeze, we built it so that if it didn't work out, if it felt wrong or we weren't getting on or any of that stuff, we could have stopped at the end of last year. And by the time we'd done the tour over here, which was that was the first of the touring that we did, we knew that it was real, that it was proper. We were all getting on and really enjoying it, and the band sounded great. So, you know, this touring that we're doing this year is as a direct result of us enjoying it last year, and next year we're going to be working on a record. So it's all great. Actually, it's really good.
Great. So you answered one of my questions right there. We'll have a new Squeeze record hopefully in 2009.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Now, do you feel you've righted some part of your legacy by bringing the band back these past couple of years?
I didn't catch the question, I'm sorry.
Do you feel like you've corrected part of your legacy or righted something in bringing the band back these couple of years?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way that Squeeze ended up before we split up, Chris and I had sort of, were falling out and actually fell out towards the end. And none of it seemed right. It was a pretty sad way for the band to end, actually, because the last tour we did here was as a four-piece because Chris didn't turn up for the tour again. Which, it wasn't great for me or for anyone, but we did it and then that was that. So now, I think we understand each other a lot better. Chris and I are friends now for the first time, in like 25, 26 years. We're actually proper friends, so we get on, so we eat dinner together, we hang out, not all the time, but we do hang out. It just makes for a much nicer experience, I mean, when I started touring solo in 99 or something, and even though I was working hard, really hard, I discovered that I really enjoyed it much more than I had done being with Squeeze. And that's something that never stopped for me over the next 8 years. And so coming back to Squeeze, I really would have found it the easiest thing in the world to walk away from it if it had been anything less than fun and enjoyable, because I'm too old to do all that now.
And you guys were great last year. I mean,
so it's just the ideal. It's the best of all worlds.
Yeah, it seems like it. I mean, it's something you can do on a couple of months out of the year and still have the solo career and still live your life and just keep the machine moving along.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything. One feeds the other in both senses. I think the thing that I have with the Fluffers is definitely has fed Squeeze some good stuff. It's, the experiences that I've had, what I've learned over the last 8 years, it's quite a lot. And equally, Squeeze makes my life easier, and it's much, it means I can devote more time to doing some other things, and, it just works all round.
Hey, Glenn, let me iterate my history, or, part of my history with the band. I was a young kid. I got turned on to you guys around the time of Argy Bargy. You guys had an appearance on the legendary local New Jersey show. What was that? The Uncle Floyd show.
Floyd.
Yeah. and just your image, your style, your fashion, and the great songs, was enough just to hook me in that day, and a lot of others, I'm sure. In 1982, I was 17 years old, and I got to see you in Aberdeen, New Jersey, at a place called the Fountain Casino. And I was 17, I got the tickets, so I called them up. I'm like, can anybody get in? I get to the door, I drive 90 minutes to get there, and they're like, this is a 21-only show. And I'm like, now what do I do? So I'm sitting there arguing my case. I'm not going to win. And the next thing I know is a couple bring in this 10-year-old kid. I'm like, look, you're letting him in. I'm getting into the show. And needless to say, I got in. You guys did a great version of Tracks of My Tears that night. Had Don Snow in the band. It was just a great time had by all.
Cool. Actually, I remember that. I remember that specific show as being. I think that was one of my favourite Squeeze shows ever. It just was. That was a night when everything just clicked, and I don't know why that was, but it just was. Well,
it was a good show, and I just about missed it, and I was really happy to have seen it. Of course, I've seen you a few other times. I saw you guys at a place called the Marquee in New York City when it was just a different Tilbrook show in '91 in the middle of July. They didn't have any air conditioning. It was hot. The band was hot. Everybody was having a good time though.
Excellent.
So, Glenn, you're a noted guitar player, but yet considered somewhat of an underrated guitar player. Could you maybe describe some of the guitar players who influenced you, and who do you like to listen to, and who would you like to see, or do you like to see perform in a live setting as far as guitar playing goes?
Wow, that's I'm not sure I'm going to remember all those questions. The thing about me and guitar playing is I love guitar playing, but I don't, I try and keep it to, minimal. I don't particularly like guitar players who go on and on, unless they're very, very talented, and there are very few that are talented enough to do that and keep my interest, So most of the solos I do are solos that I sort of work out and learn and become part of the song, rather than something that I'll improvise, because if I improvise, I tend to be bluesy, and, I'm not that terrifically interesting when I'm like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, who influenced you as far as being a lead player?
Who influenced me? Well, Jimi Hendrix is still my biggest influence, and through Jimi Hendrix I got to Wes Montgomery, and he's actually quite a large influence. The octave thing that he has, I'm really keen on that. I guess in terms of other guitar players, it's not so much guitar players that influence me as songwriters and chords and songs. That's always been out of the three things I do, which are write, sing, and play. I think writing has always been top of my list. So my guitar playing takes a back seat to that, I think.
Right. Well, but people who would be interested in seeing a different side of Glenn, or a side of Glenn they might not have seen, can YouTube and check out Voodoo Child, covering you did on a recent tour, to get an idea of you giving homage to Hendrix, which was, a very fine performance on your part.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, I do love Jimmy. You don't really hear that a lot in what I do, but he's there in everything I do.
Well, we are talking with Glenn Tilbrook of Squeeze, kicking off the tour of the United States tonight in Washington, D.C. The websites are glenntilbrook.com and squeezeofficial.com. I'm sure some of these shows are selling out, so you might want to get out there and try to get some tickets right away. Now, Glenn, earlier in the year you were involved in, now this kind of leads to what we were just talking about, you were involved in the Jammies out in New York, which is the annual awards ceremony for the Jam Band arena. And how did you get it, how did it come that you became a part of that?
Well, I think the whole Jam Band thing is quite a unique thing to America. It hasn't really travelled to the UK that much. It's a scene that I'm absolutely fascinated with. I like the sort of, really it's a legacy of the Grateful Dead and what they achieved and what they set up and what they showed other people was possible for you to, for one to exist sort of outside of the mainstream, yet be a part of something that actually will be important to people, and the fact that that's where the bands come from, I think is great. And I must admit I hadn't heard of half the bands that were there, but it was a fantastic evening, and I love the idea of just getting up there and doing it, which is what we did. I went on, I was on stage for one song that I'd never heard before, but we winged it and it was great.
Right. Well, that's what the whole thing was about, and we were talking a little bit about improvisation before. In America, every summer there's tons of jam band festivals. Could we ever see a day where Squeeze went out there and just opened it up and did some improvising? Because you guys certainly have the chops to accomplish that.
Squeeze is the very opposite of all that in that we always have very tightly structured songs.
Oh yeah, I know that.
So it's a bit. I don't think Squeeze would do it. I think that my band, the Fluffers, will be. That it's a lot looser than Squeeze, and I think that would be the band more likely to do it. I think me and the Fluffers. You
guys did have some forays where you extended it a little bit at times.
Yeah. I mean, we sort of work things out where they extend slightly, but. We're actually saying that, which I realised on this set of dates we've just finished doing in the UK, that Squeeze is getting a lot closer to being able to do that now than it ever was before, which is great.
Well, as if you keep the 5-piece you got going together, you guys will know all your nuances, and I'd love to see that. Plus, it could open up a whole new fan base for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that would be great.
In an online interview, you talked about how in the late 80s you guys began kind of a roller coaster ride on traditional labels being signed, labels folding, which basically ultimately led to you going independent in the late 90s. Can you compare and contrast the scenarios of being indie and being signed?
I mean, first of all, the hope with major labels is that it'll get you to that place where everybody knows who you are. Squeeze nearly got there at certain points, but we never actually quite got there. And that was the point in hanging around with majors. By the end of it, when our photographs were airbrushed and we'd been A&R'd into little corners, quite willingly in the case of A&Ring, not willingly in the case of having our photos airbrushed. So I just thought, for me, that's not happening anymore. What I want to do is make the music that I want to make, and I don't really want to be interfered with anymore. And if I sell a few copies and I'm back to clubs, fine, that's fine. I want to be a musician. That's it. I'm happy as long as I'm doing that. And really, effectively, my position hasn't changed. From that, I'm very happy that the majors can assist in the breakthrough of people, although they've sown the seeds to their own downfall by not sticking with enough people for long enough. That's my opinion. Plenty of people are making it on their own way. The internet is, a wonderful thing, and it enables people to know about what I'm doing without having to look in papers or, It just means that if you want to find out about stuff, you can. Right,
and you're out there, and you got fan sites, and you're still putting out releases. Something from the tour from last year, or Five Live.
Yeah, there's a live album for Five Live from that we recorded on the tour over here last year, and I'm working on the new album that's going to come out in February, I think, with the Fluffers. So I'm in a position now where I'm totally independent, and I love it. I would never want to go any place other than this now.
Hey, I asked Chris this when I interviewed him in the past. Could you tell us what your top 2 Squeeze albums would be, and maybe your 2 favorite Squeeze songs of all time?
Top 2 favorite Squeeze records?
Yes, sir.
I think that would be East Side Story and Some Fantastic Place. My very favourite Squeeze song is called Some Fantastic Place. That's from 1993. Another one is Letting Go. It's from the Play album we had in 1991. Tempted was a big sort of adult song for us, so I love that one. And If I Didn't Love You was sort of pop music at its best for Squeeze, I think. Yeah,
all good stuff, and I got to agree with you on Some Fantastic Place. I was, that song brought it all together, the harmonies, the production, and the guitar playing in that. Just a great song. If you've never heard that out there, everybody, Squeeze, Some Fantastic Place from the album of the same name. It's great talking to you, Glenn. GlennTilbrook.com, SqueezeOfficial.com. Glenn is kicking off the summer 2008 concert for Squeeze tonight, and I'm really happy for you guys because, like you said, we talked about, you came out last year, and then this year the tour has a little bit of different feel to it, mainly because of a couple of the venues that you're playing. I'd like to talk about 2 of them, the Ryman Auditorium in Nashville.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about East Side Story. Of course, you guys did a country track on there labeled with love, kind of a country feel. I know Chris has an affinity for country music and cowboys. Do you share that with him?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of country music now, going back to I think 1980 was when I first really became aware of it properly, and working my way backwards through country music and forwards. It's a much misunderstood sort of music, I think, particularly in the UK, but maybe a little here too. It can be very emotional, very truthful sort of lyric. That's really primarily what attracts me to it. Some of the players are phenomenal, and Squeeze doing country. It's that thing. It's so wrong, it's right.
Will you do anything special on the night in Nashville to cater to that audience?
Well, no. I think that we've got to, we do what we do, and I think I can't. We don't do things like that simply because we're not very good at doing those things. We're doing a couple of country songs. We're doing a song called Melody Motel, which is from Frank, which is sort of our take on country music. Of course, it sounds nothing like it, but it is a very country influenced song. And
then you'll be finishing up this run of dates at the Radio City Music Hall, returning to finishing off on a high note, back to New York, back at one of the largest venues in Manhattan. You excited about that one?
Oh yeah, really excited. I mean, we've never actually played Radio City before, so I've been there many times, but I'm so looking forward to playing there, getting up on that stage. It's a unique, iconic building, and I can't wait to get in there.
Okay, Glenn, I have a whole list, but I won't keep you much longer. We're very honored, and we're very excited about everything that's happening in the world of Squeeze. Just a fantastic band, the soundtrack of so many people's lives. What can I tell you? Your documentary, One for the Road, that's just a fantastic piece of work, and it really shows your ability, in the crowd. You're getting together. Your interaction was just, especially when you got to Grand Central Station.
Oh, yeah. I had to learn a whole different set of skills when I was by myself, because with Squeeze, I don't think that we were ever really particularly great communicators, besides being a really good band playing songs that we were very proud of. We didn't really talk an awful lot, except for Jules when he was in the band. He used to do a lot of talking, and he was very good at it. But by myself, I discovered that with an acoustic guitar and vocals, I sort of gradually relaxed into taking more time between songs, and basically just letting my personality be rather than do anything. And in doing that, I relaxed and became quite a different person. Much more confident than I had been. And I think in One for the Road, you see really, when I look at it now, it was shot like 7 years ago. So I'm sufficiently far removed from it to see that I can see what I didn't know about myself at the time, which is I'm incredibly determined when I get something, and really at that point in my career, it was like starting again. And I thought, okay, let's get on with it, and I quite like that about myself. Although, it took seeing that movie for me to realise that I had that.
Yeah, and you were particularly determined to get an RV and tour across the states, which you did.
Yeah, and you know what? Ever since that movie, I've always had a bus. Not that one, because that one didn't work particularly well. But Amy Pickard, who did the movie, she did a great job in sort of chronicling what was an extremely important time for me. And that bus thing has stayed with me. I'm still travelling in my own bus now.
Is there any chance we could see a DVD from this tour?
We're shooting little bits, but I don't think it'll be a movie in quite the same way.
Okay. Well, we are very excited to have you on the show today, Glenn. I have a lot more that I could do for you or that I could ask you, but I'm going to let you go at that because I know you got a busy day ahead of you. You got the touring starting tonight. Congratulations. We hope to see you in New York. Please say hi to Chris for us.
Cool, I will.
And all the best.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Rockin' Rich Lynch on the Radio Show, part of the Soundpress.net radio network. Remember, if you're a band or artist looking for promotion, or if you'd like to sponsor this show or add this program to your station, please get in touch with us today at Soundpress.net.